how long have you been working for AT&T? Hey, that's a joke. Listen, guys, this is not a serious show. This is a fun show. I figure there's no better way to break the ice than with a terrible joke that nobody's going to get later on. So, Flynn, how's your audio? How's your visual? Everything good on your end?
Yeah, can you hear me okay? I mean, it's not really coming through that well in my headphones, but
so why don't you take a second? You can hear it good?
I can hear him fine, yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you really good. You might have an audio switch on your headset that is for incoming, or if you want to take a quick second and go to your settings on your computer, and there's an audio out and an audio in. Otherwise, it's totally up to you.
All right, give me 1 second.
Yeah. I like the backdrop there, Coach Dave. Looking good, man. You got some championships there. I like that.
I stole it from my kids' room. So.
That's great. I've been slowly developing my backdrop here.
I'm nowhere in your game. Right.
That's all right. You will be, man. Like I said, this platform is we are the early adopters, as people like to say. So let me take a second here, and we are recording this, which is fine while Flynn works on that. You can see the icons to the left that say "Tell a Little Bird," right? You want to click on that, and then before you hit enter, hashtag Team Impact Coaching, hashtag Justin Flynn, maybe your real estate company, but we're going to get a chance to actually talk about our businesses and what we do. So throughout this show, as more people join in as well, we'll tell a little bird, and that means we're tweeting this out.
Okay, I'm good to go. It's coming in clear. So
excellent. All right, guys. So I'm going to start the show here. Hello and welcome to the only live interactive streaming video show on the planet that discusses, debates, and delivers important tips and tools for dads like us. Congratulations. You have personally been selected to step up to the mic and deliver fresh, relevant content, tell stories, and share your own personal path to fatherhood. Want to learn more about the most important job a man will ever have? Need dinner table topics and fun, engaging events to do with your kids? On this show, we will learn together and grow as a community while holding each other accountable. So what are you waiting for? It's time to show the world what makes you a father of the future. Be honest, tell your friends, laugh, cry, and open your heart so that we can all learn what it takes to be committed, engaged, and devoted to the children in our lives. My name is Luke Kayyem, and I am a father of the future. I am joined here today by my good friends, Justin Flynn and Dave DeBashis.
Oh, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, there we go. Excellent, guys. So you've gotten an opportunity to kind of see what this show's about the last couple of weeks. This is our fifth week, our fifth experience. And I'm really happy to have two guys that I've known for quite some time right now come from completely different backgrounds and have completely different fatherhood experiences. So let's start with Dave. Please introduce yourself. Tell us how many kids you have. Tell us about your family. What happens to you on a regular basis? And we'll just kind of go around the room in a circle or a square, and we'll just kind of talk about things.
Sure, Luke. So I'm a father of three, married about 13 years. Hope I got that right. 10-year-old boy, 8-year-old boy, 4-year-old girl. Been looking forward to fatherhood since I was a teenager. Lost my own dad when I was young, and always wanted to, see if I could live up to his guidance and support, and maybe even add my own twist. So it's just a journey that I was always looking forward to. We live in North Phoenix. I run a marketing company, and I also run Team Impact Coaching. Team Impact Coaching really helps kids of all abilities learn to be better athletes. So I have kids like my hugger, Andres, who's, just getting into sports, but he's a great kid. And then I've got kids like my older boy or like Cannon that I coach that are, very committed at sports. So, again, that's a fun part of the journey, and just trying to balance it all and be a good person and, see where it all goes.
So take a second, Dave, and tell us about your two sons. Tell us about your two sons. Obviously, they're both amazing, beautiful young boys, but they're different. And please explain with us and the viewers, kind of what you have to do on a daily basis with those two completely different boys.
Sure. So, I've got a great wife, but she leaves the house at 7:30 for work and doesn't come back till 6, and I work from home. So I get to spend a lot of time with my kids, and I have a lot of responsibilities with my kids. I got to get them ready and get them to school. I got to handle all the youth sports activities and picking them up from school. And then, I'm more of a homebody, so I enjoy spending time at home with my kids. I enjoy coming up with fun activities. My 10-year-old, he's an introvert. He's a reserved kid. He's calm. They call him the Iceman because he's just really relaxed about everything, never stresses. Very good at school, very good at football. And he's the type of kid that, it drives me crazy because I'm an extrovert. So, I'm trying to get a response from him and I can't. So, we have some heated debates sometimes, but, I'm loving watching him grow up. You know him well, and he's, friends with Cannon and stuff. And then my 8-year-old Andres, man, words can't describe that boy. I mean, he was born a miracle child. He was born, 23 weeks, 5 days, had a grade 4 brain hemorrhage when he was born, was told that he wasn't going to survive and survived it. And he's perfectly normal. And he's world's greatest hugger, doesn't have a competitive bone in his body. But which, is hard for me because I'm a competitive guy, but he's an extrovert like me. He's my twin. He's got a big forehead just like me. I mean, he's just a great kid. He makes my day. And, it's been a real challenge as a dad. And maybe this interesting thing to talk about is when you have two boys that are so different, one who really kind of fulfills all these goals that you would envision your son having one day in terms of, playing the sport that you played and, playing the position that you played and, focusing on grades and then another kid who's essentially the complete opposite. And, but making sure that you as a dad demonstrate the same amount of love and affection for each kid is I mean, it's easy naturally. Of course, you love them both equally, but how do you make sure, how do you keep yourself in check, right? And make sure that you balance it so that they don't perceive, right, that you're favoring one or the other, or that your wife doesn't perceive that you're favoring one over the other, right? So that's, but it's great, man. I love it, whether it's teaching Andres how to draw or coaching Dominic in the state championship football game. I have to make it all seem the same,
So speaking on balance right now, Flynn has one kid. You and I have multiple kids. Last night was a toxic meltdown at our house, and I haven't seen Camille, my younger daughter, freak out like this in a long time. And Mom's on right now listening, so she will agree. Cannon is trying to become a sponsored Under Armour athlete as a kid. They're actually sponsoring these kids. So we made a highlight reel for him. That highlight reel went viral, and Ellen DeGeneres picked it up. So she wanted him to send a video and I'm letting my boy Mike in right now. Mike, welcome to the show, brother. So she wanted him to do a highlight reel as well. So we did a highlight reel for him. Well, last night, Camille felt the additional love, support, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't intentional, but she felt that, and she got so upset. So honestly, the last hour and a half I've spent in the back room right now filming Camille's highlight reel, which will end up being better than Cannon's in the first place. So, I do understand that. It's extremely challenging to go back and forth and make sure that they're getting equal amounts of love and they're getting equal amounts of attention. But I definitely feel for you. That's the reason why we stopped at 2. We were even, and we decided not to go.
3. I went to 3, but I was lucky I got a daughter. And I have no shame in saying I love her more than either of the boys. So.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. All right, Mr. Flynn, talk to us, sir. Let us know who you are and what you're all about. Real quick before I formally introduce you here again, Mike Allred, welcome to the show. Good to see you, my man. Thanks for jumping in. I'm introducing Justin Flynn. I don't know if you know Justin or not. Justin was the mastermind behind the OC Throwdown. He was the creator. Him and I became good friends over the last couple years. Greater friends since he stopped doing that event. And he's a dad. One of the things I highlighted here was his dad showed him what discipline was all about from an early age. He had us doing pull-ups and push-ups. So there's your intro, Mr. Flynn. Let us know who you are and what you're doing.
So I met you, Luke, through CrossFit. I started a CrossFit gym in late 2008 and was really involved in the CrossFit community. Started a CrossFit competition called the OC Throwdown, which was a lot of fun to put on for a number of years. And about a year ago, I sold the my CrossFit gym to a few of my trainers. One of them was Kenny Leverage, the CrossFit Games athlete. And so I ended up moving back to San Diego, which is my hometown, and got into real estate, which I'd actually worked in the mortgage field for about 3 years in my mid-20s. So I had a bit of experience, and a lot of my family has been involved in real estate for many, many years. So it kind of seemed like a logical next step for me. And so I work for Coldwell Banker and here in La Jolla, and I like what I do now. I'm sure. I couldn't be more.
$199 memberships to $1.99 million houses. What's the average price medium in La Jolla right now?
Last month it was 2.1 million.
Attaboy. Excellent, man. Your son's name is Fletcher. Where'd you come up with that name?
Actually it was his mother's grandfather's last name, who had passed away shortly before he was born. So yeah. But it's a great name. I mean, we get a lot of compliments on it all the time, and it's not a name that you hear very often. So it's a unique name, yeah, for sure.
Mike, you were a guest on the show a couple weeks ago. Mike is the new guy in Sick Fit land. He's opening up Sick Fit Round Rock a little bit later this year. Mike, give us an intro. Let us know about your daughter. And then we'll start to speed this thing up and talk a little bit more.
I've got a 5-year-old daughter. She is a new kindergartner, and she is 100% a socialite. She has never met a stranger in her life, which is a blessing and a curse. Means daddy's got to be extra vigilant. But it's great because you can't teach stuff like that to some kids, and she's just a very personable person, just like a natural connector. And she's a lot of fun. She's 100% character and personality, and I'm getting everything I deserve out of this, my first. So I laugh at that because I have to revert back to my mom and what she had to deal with raising me, and now I am kind of getting that back tenfold, I think. So it's humbling and it's fun at the same time.
All right. What was your day like today? Tell me about from start to finish. Because I was out in Round Rock, Texas about 4 or 5 months ago, and your daughter was so self-sufficient that I came home to my 2 kids who, honestly, if I'm not fully playing with them, tell me I suck. That's how these kids are so used to playing with me at this point in my life. And this girl was outside on the trampoline with the dogs for 2 or 3 hours. She didn't even come inside. So how did you do that?
Again, man, I think it's there's a lot of luck involved in that. It wasn't like a lot of training that I had to like get her to be independent and self-sufficient. I mean, I practice to raise her that way. I mean, she doesn't have any other siblings. She's 5 years old, and my brother and I are 5 years apart. So I do kind of understand that the age gap there if she were to have a sibling right now. But our life right now, especially with opening up the gym, just requires her to be able to be self-sufficient and, kind of take care of herself in a lot of ways. And, I mean, we want to raise her to be independent. We want to raise her to, kind of figure out things on her own and problem solve and not have to rely on Kaylee and myself to kind of solve all her problems. I mean, to a certain extent, of course, given that, there's a lot of things that are above her head and what she can deal with. But my day like today, man, I mean, it was a very productive day. Got to deal with some attorney stuff revolving around the gym. We got some foundation poured that we've been waiting on for about 10 days inside our building. So that allows us to get into the next phase of construction, which gets us closer to our grand opening. And got to do some little project type stuff to, kind of help prepare for that opening date, and raced home so I can get changed over and organized so I can go pick up my daughter from school. And we got to run some errands together. And she's like my little battle buddy, man. She does everything with me. So I think part of the thing that allows her or kind of forces her to be independent is I kind of treat her like a mini adult. I don't talk to her in a way that is, I guess a lot of people would think age appropriate. I kind of constantly am talking a little bit above her head to give her something to reach for. And our conversations rapidly are becoming more in depth. Her memory is becoming greater. Her vocabulary is, it's widening on the daily, and we have some pretty awesome conversations. And when we go do like grown-up stuff, when daddy's got to run errands and take care of stuff for the business, she gets pulled into a lot of it, and a lot of it happens to work in my favor because she's a ham and she's the ultimate icebreaker for a lot of meetings, man. She's a natural connector. She walks up to, I don't know, 20 or 30 strangers in the grocery store and just starts introducing me to everybody she meets in the aisles. And, again, you can't teach that kind of stuff. So she's picking up a lot of the things that I'm having to do as a business owner and someone who's becoming a community member. And I think she's very observant of that. And so she's kind of doing what daddy does and turning it into her own lifestyle and kind of learning from a lot of those things. So, yeah, I mean, that was kind of my day, man. A lot of stay-at-home dad stuff, a lot of entrepreneur stuff, a lot of daddy stuff.
What's really cool about this group, and I think about most of the guys that I've had on the show so far, is nobody has a job. Nobody works for somebody else. Everybody works for themselves. That didn't exist 50, 60 years ago, right? But look at us now. We're sort of changing the way we want to live for whatever reason. Flynn comes from a dad who was engaged and involved, right? But that still makes him not want to have a 9-to-5. Right? We know how hard it is as entrepreneurs or small business owners to keep that fire fueling day after day, week after week, year after year. So I understand how important it is to spend time with my kids and my family, so much so that we've built our business around that. So let me ask Flynn a question, and I want Flynn to keep it as positive as possible because we know how tough it is to be a gym owner in this day and age. A guy who sold his gym to a guy who's opening up a gym. What words of wisdom, what sentence, what could you give him so that he can make sure the business runs well, it's successful, but he doesn't lose sight of what his number one priority is and the fact that he doesn't want to work for anybody else. He wants to create his own job, which is what he's doing with Sick Fit Round Rock.
What words of advice do I have for him as a former gym owner?
Besides sell out to a coach in 36 months. Yeah. What else? What advice would you give a guy like that?
I would say that the most important thing, and the reason that I was successful, was you have to live and breathe what you teach and what you put out there. So never tell one of your members to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. Never put a workout on the board that you wouldn't do yourself. You know, you'd better work out, you know, a 3-on, 1-off schedule if that's what you're, you know, recommending to your clients. So yeah, just living and living what you're teaching. And I think that's, for me, why I realized it was a good time to get out, because I no longer had that fire in my belly for functional fitness that I did when I first started.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and that has a lot to do with my military background. Is that I always taught on the premise that I will never ask my Marines to do anything I couldn't do myself. I always led by example, and if I could not, you know, lead from the front, so to speak, if I couldn't, you know, provide that example from them to follow, then it really wasn't worth me spouting my mouth off, forcing someone to do something that I couldn't do myself. I mean, that's an error. There's a very fine line of arrogance and confidence there, and that definitely leans on the side of arrogance to have other people do something that you wouldn't do yourself. And I 100% believe and agree with you on that. And one of the things I think for myself, and especially becoming a business owner and in the location that I have for my business, that already has an incredible amount of success ahead of it, just based on the relationships that I've made, the connections that I made with the city, the community involvement, the followership that I have on social media, and email traffic that people are very supportive. It's not only humbling, but it's very encouraging. But I look at this business, regardless of what type of genre or industry it might be, it's purely just a business. It's nothing more than a stepping stone for me. And that stepping stone is going to get me further embedded into the community. I will at some point, I already am carving the pathway for me to be successful in this, is that I will make decisions at some capacity on an official level for this community. And this business will allow me to become that pillar to do that, to be a resource, to be a recognizable figure within the community that will allow whatever campaign it may be down the road to make that a lot easier. But it's more important to me to give back to the community rather than to create a community. And that's one thing that CrossFit has been just exponential at. They've been fantastic at, is creating communities within the community. That's what they strive for. That's great. But if I'm in a town of 100,000 people and I've got a gym of 200 people and we create this extended family, that's 200 out of 100,000. You're making a bunch of small cliques within a community. And that's not really making the greater impact. And so my focus is literally 5-10 years down the road. I'm not looking at the end of the month. I'm not looking at 6 months from now. I'm not looking even 12 months from now. I'm looking at what's going to happen in 5 years. What is the platform that I'm going to be jumping off of to make that greater impact? How am I going to give back? Who am I going to get involved in? And it's far more than the, you know, high five and chest bump at the end of the hour workout that you get from me that creates that community. It's what are we a part of that you, as a client, as a member, as an athlete, a participant of our gym, that you're going to be proud of to be involved in. So I'm absolutely looking at a far greater picture than just the four walls of my business that will bring in some sort of income or revenue that will support the energy bills and whatnot. I'm creating, I mean, I hate to say it in the way, you know, that I've got Luke on the line as well, but this is a legacy. And, you know, I'm looking for global domination, and it starts with this little platform that I'm on right now.
That's beautiful, man. So, Coach Dave, Mike said something. He said the word impact, right? Your company is called Team Impact. Now, my son has 2 coaches. He's now almost 9, and he has 2 coaches. You're one of them, and his club baseball coach, Michael Hemingway, is the other one. That means in these short 4 or 5 years that he's been playing sports, I've found a way to filter out enough garbage and enough dads coaching to find 2 guys that I could stick with for the next 9 years to get my son to where I think I want him to be. You're one of those guys, whether you want to admit it or not. no pressure, but there's a reason why we drive further than 2 miles to football practice. See, here in Scottsdale, there's only a 4-mile radius that we actually go to. I go 4.5 miles to see Coach Dave. And you're that big of an influence on me. So, my next question to the group is, who has been a positive influence in your life? And for you, Coach Dave, this one's a little bit different. What is too much? What isn't enough? Like this weekend, we had a flag football tournament you were a part of. You had 3 teams there. We played 6 football games. My son got a massage from mom and dad. He got hydrated. He got stretched out. We went to Whole Foods. He got 8 hours of sleep. Like, he's 9 years old. Those are the things that I push him to do.
Right.
For you as a coach, how far or how little do you think we need to push our kids to get them where we want to? And if that's too general of a question, put it with your own son. Put it with Dominic, who is a stellar quarterback at 10 years old, who has hopes of going to the next level. We're not going to call it college, D1, pro. The next level is a high school quarterback.
Yeah.
And playing high school ball nowadays might as well be a Division III anywhere you play.
Well, I'll start with your question about influence, because I'm sure everyone will want to chime in on that. I always loved sports growing up, but having 2 parents from India, sports was not a priority. It was all about academics, which is fine. But, I was 9 years old before I played my first sport and wasn't very good at it. I played baseball and I was awful. Like, I remember the first practice, the coach said, who has their jocks on? And I didn't know what a jock was. I thought it was like a jacket. So I said, I do. And next thing you know, he takes a baseball bat and twacks me where it counts. And that's how I learned what a jock was, right? Like, I knew nothing about the game, right? And, actually I got the nickname Blue Rocks when I was 9 years old from that. But then, as I got older, I wanted to quit sports because first year I played Little League Baseball, I only had 1 hit. And there was a guy in the neighborhood, a kid in the neighborhood, was a good friend of mine. It was kind of like that movie, The Sandlot. Remember the kid who was the stud, like the kid who played for the Dodgers? So he was that kid, right? And his dad knocked on my door and said to my dad, look, I'd like to bring Devashis out to play baseball, even though he's not playing, he can come to practice and So this guy really believed in me. This guy's name was Carl Warner, and for whatever reason, his son Joe's listening. He should know. Carl kept making me come to baseball practice, even though I wasn't playing. He would give me chances. Finally, like 2 seasons later, he said, can you please sign him up to play? And my dad was like, okay, sure, as long as his grades are good. And at this point, I was 10 and a half. And I was addicted to baseball. I loved watching the Tigers. I grew up in Detroit, but I didn't play well. And Coach Carl said, welcome to the team. You're my leadoff hitter. And I was like, what? I'm your leadoff. Like, do you remember? Like, I'm the kid who had 1 hit the whole season. He's like, no, you're my leadoff hitter. I'm gonna teach you how to bat left-handed. I'm gonna teach you how to bunt down the third base line. You're gonna use your speed, and you're gonna get on base to start every game. And sure enough, that season I got about 15 or 16 of those hits. Within 2 more seasons, I was an all-star. I was, hitting 3 out of every 4 at bats. I was getting a hit. I started moving into basketball, football, and I took that same belief and work ethic into everything I did. And I think that, my heart, or the reason I started Team Impact, was we write athletes off too easily. We use the word natural ability way too much. The truth is, the best athletes are kids who have some kind of chip on their shoulder, some kind of failure that they had at some point. And I think that that's what fuels us. Not that we should try to create failure for kids. I'm not saying that at all. But, my belief is that any kid has the right to learn how to be a great athlete. And, I'll do a little plug for SickFit. My 8-year-old who is not very good at sports, or naturally good at sports, I guess. And, his favorite thing to do in the world is the SickFit Kids Camp. And it's because when he goes there, man, you guys treat him like he's the Heisman Trophy winner, you know? And it's just like, and I know that he's not necessarily keeping up the best with the other kids and not always listening. But I'm telling you, like, you're changing a young man's life. You're changing a young man's life. Because at 8 years old, you don't deserve to be written off. And, you know, and you don't deserve to be written off, and you don't deserve to be put on a pedestal higher than other kids. You don't deserve any of that. They're all equal. They're all kids. And with the right fundamentals and the right discipline and the right habits, maybe they'll have a chance one day. But it's up to us, I think, as a society to embrace all these kids, right? Put aside our competitive, you know, like, I'm going to go off on a tangent for a second. We're a horrible generation. All right. I'm sorry. I hate to say it. We're a horrible generation. Okay. Like, but we have a chance to change that. All right. We are so competitive. All right. And we just do not understand that even though we go to church and we believe in the right philosophies and we want to do the right things, we very rarely do the right things. The example I'll give that I posted about was, and you were there, was Cannon's football game on Saturday or Sunday, where they got to the semifinals and they were dominating another team, and the other team had some really rough coaches and parents yelling at these refs, and they bullied the ref. And the ref clearly was afraid and was clearly making calls against Cannon's team out of fear of the other team. I mean, that was obvious. And it almost cost Cannon's team the game. I mean, luckily they kind of pulled it out at the end. And this ref had created an environment where all 40 adults that were there were mad at him. Now, we gotta take ourselves out of that moment and think to ourselves, this is a 15-year-old ref. He's a human being. Like, and who are we to say that we're going to be good dads to our own kids if we can't even treat a 15-year-old ref properly? So I went up to him and I talked to him and I put my arm around his shoulder and I told him, look, we all have bad days, but you know, as long as you make your calls with assertiveness and confidence, you know, don't back down. And he had a tear in his eye. 15
That's
years.
funny because on the way to the car, I saw him and I shook his hand and I said, "Hey, man, thank you." That's all I said was thank you, because the game became unfun.
It became
unfun for the kids.
It was not fun to be there. It ruined the rest of my day. I could not wait to leave Flagstaff after that game. And, you know, like, honestly, what you did with him going to the car, it might have been just a couple words, or what I said to him was just a couple words. You never know, man. We may have impacted that young man's life. You know?
Speaking of positivity, right? And the little things, right? Like, you know, it takes more work to smile, but the response is always going to be greater than a frown. When I go hiking on Pinnacle Peak or when I go to the Grand Canyon, I thank the volunteers who are working. I don't know if that sounds weird to anybody, but I went once with my adopted mom. You know, she adopted me late in my 30s, Toby Schultz. And I saw her one time hiking the Grand Canyon at 55 years of age, thanking the volunteers. And it kind of stuck with me. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Well, think about that. Think about a police officer, a firefighter. Think about somebody who's in a high stress job that usually deals with negativity, and you thank them. What does that do? That flips the script.
Oh, my favorite part of coaching is at the end of a season where you get a chance to talk about all the positive things every kid on the team did. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. I give some long-ass speeches because all those kids deserve it in my mind. And I've been told by parents that those speeches go too long. You talk too much about each kid. I mean, that's the kind of generation we are. Like, they can't even appreciate that another kid, not their own kid, has the platform, you know? And that, you know, I would like to be a whole part of team impact coaching. You know, Mike brought up a lot of really great points, and one he talked about was trying to make a bigger impact. I'm taking a micro approach. I don't have any big dreams with this yet because I feel like I need to take a micro approach. But with these kids, when people really ask me at the end of the day, why do I preach this stuff so much to the kids? It's because this is the generation that my kids are going to grow up with. So if I can impact, I love these kids, but truly if I have a selfish reason, it's because I don't want my kids growing up around a bunch of jerks. That's my selfish reason. So.
Well, let me tell you why we're all here right now and why most of you guys agreed to come on this show is because where else do we learn this stuff? Where else do we have these conversations, right? This isn't going to happen at a bar. It's not going to happen at church, right? It may happen for 5 minutes on the sideline.
I've tried having these at a bar, and you're right. It doesn't go well.
It doesn't happen. Justin Flynn, how do you express love to your son? This is a topic that a lot of dads struggle with. I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I'm going to start clicking "I love you" in my house because it's obsessive, and it's obsessive in a good way. But if last night I was working out in the garage, I had to move some equipment around. My daughter comes outside, tells me something. As she's leaving, I say, "I love you. I love you, Daddy." And then my son comes out, says something to me. I say, "I love you, Dad." Literally, it's like 7 "I love you" bombs in 3 minutes. And I have no problem doing it, but there are a lot of fathers out there who struggle with "I love you" with those 3 words. Justin, how do you do it? How do you express love to your son?
I think you just nailed it on the head. I don't think that you can kiss, hug, tell them you love them enough. It's just something that for me, I don't know, it comes naturally. I love manhandling my son. Actually, I think, one of the best ways I think that we like to sort of show each other that we love each other is through wrestling, and just roughhousing. And, Fletcher likes to call it monkey wrestling, and we do it like every morning before I go to work and, every day when I come home, we just roughhouse, and I think for boys especially, I think that it's important to be able to display their physicality with their dads. And so, yeah, I let Fletcher do that, sometimes he'll get a little out of control, wanting to, I'm sure, as he wants to, display his karate kicks. And, I've had a lot of bruises, but no, man, it's constant, just physical touch and kissing and hugging and wrestling and telling him I love him. And, I always tell him how smart he is. He's the smartest boy in the world, the fastest boy, the strongest boy,
Positive reinforcement.
Always, man. I just always do. And I don't know, like you said, some dads struggle at that. For me, that's alien stuff. I don't understand it, for me, it's natural, but.
So speaking of the physical side of it, once your son turns 8, it's game over. You guys remember Police Academy? The dad would always punch his son, and his son was punch his dad back. I was wrestling with Cannon about a year ago, and he literally clocks me. I took back, and I got ready to hit him back, and I was like, dude, you just socked me full speed in the chin, right? Crazy. So here's one more story on that. I'm literally brushing my teeth one night, and he's leg kicking me, just sweep kick right to the calf. And I'm like, bro, it's 9 o'clock. What are you doing? He's like, Dad, straight face, pulls his toothbrush out of his mouth. Dad, if I can't kick you, who am I supposed to kick in the house? All right, man. Go ahead. You got 3 more kicks. Go ahead.
Hey, I want to jump in on something real quick on a couple of what you guys have talked about, and reaching back to something you said earlier, Luke, about the 4 of us that are on right now, and probably many others that are behind the scene, but us being entrepreneurs, business owners, running our own lives, creating our own destiny. I actually have that pathway kind of set for me through my dad. And, he's coming up on 40 years of being self-employed. And so I've got to grow up kind of knowing what that's like and knowing a lot of the pros and cons, the trials and tribulations, the sacrifices and all that. The flip side of that, though, is that my father was 100% absent of my life. And it wasn't until I graduated boot camp that he now had respect for me. And we were more on like somewhat of an even playing field, for the lack of a better term. I finally was at a point that he could respect me. That's probably a better way to put it, because he had no connection or relationship with a child, regardless of age, from infant to, teenager, 18 considered being an adult, the right to vote and whatnot. That was his way of defining a line. So I had zero connection, almost zero relationship with a man who was a father figure, not only because he was absent, because he was working those 18, 20-hour days to sustain a lifestyle that was beneficial for us as a family. But that wasn't something that he was comfortable with. You want to talk about the number of I love yous that a man would give to his child that would make him feel uncomfortable. I could probably count on one hand how many times my father told me I love you in the course of my life.
So let me ask you this. What's worse, having a dad in your life who's not really present, or having a dad who's never, ever been present? So I talk about that all the time, right? Like, your dad was alive and in your life, but never around with you. My dad never met, never came to the birth, wrote me a couple letters when I was 13, never showed up, never met the guy. So what do you think's harder?
I hate to be a one-upper, man, but I've already got that as well. I've never met my biological father. So who I'm referencing is my stepfather, who, is someone in my mind I've always considered my dad. I've never known anyone else, and he kind of took custody of me when I was, very, very young. So I've never met my biological father. So I already have that kind of history as well. So speaking to that directly, of having someone who's not in my life, it really doesn't affect me either way. It's literally no different than, not meeting the neighbor down the street, who lives on the same block, but I've never waved to or never met before. So, it doesn't impact me any differently. The thing that impacts me the most is that I've learned from him both good and bad. So I take that experience in my life with someone who struggled with communicating and having a relationship with me, because he created very definitive lines. It was very black and white, our relationship. He was a father figure. He put food on the table and clothes on our back, and that was it. We weren't, going to go play out in the backyard and throw the ball around. We weren't going to go, do this, that, and the other. He had a role to play in the family, lifestyle, and he stuck to that. So how I treat my daughter is I'm 100% breaking the mold. And my daughter gets kind of, she gets a little testy when, we're driving around doing our errands, and, she loves to throw out the I love yous just at random, just like I do. And she'll just say, I love you, Daddy. And I'll say, I love you too. And she's like, you got to call me Sweet Pea. And I have to follow it up with the Sweet Pea, because if I don't, that doesn't finish out that little sentence for her. Every time it has to be, I love you, Sweet Pea. And then she feels like, okay, we can move on to something else. So my experience was to learn both from the good and bad of my life and say, you know what, it's time for me to break the mold and do something differently, something that's, and it's also more my speed too. I'm a very naturally affectionate person. I'm a very loving person. And to have a daughter as my firstborn, that was the equalizer. That was something that I think was, I don't want to get down to like the path of fate and destiny and all that.
It's a game changer. Yeah.
But it is, but it puts your entire life into perspective. And, Daddy's little girl is 100%, a very true stereotype or cliche, but you take a whole different appreciation to your life and how you treat others and how you treat women in your life, and what kind of woman you're going to raise and what kind of example you're going to be to someone who will eventually move on to date and have, male figures in her life, and what kind of person do you want her to attract to? What kind of example do you want her to feed off of? that is every day constantly running through my mind. And, shamefully, I fail at it every single day. I lose my cool every day about something. And at the end of the day, we'll lay in bed when, I'm tucking her in. And I say, hey, you know what? I'm really sorry I yelled at you about, taking your seatbelt off in the car while it's rolling. I didn't mean to yell at you, but you need to understand why I got scared, why I got upset. And then that's when she just reaches over and she gives me a hug and she goes, that's okay, Daddy. I'm sorry too. I love you. And she's 5 years old and she's already making those connections. And that's the relationship that I'm creating with her, is that it's very open, it's very honest, it's very affectionate, it's very real. And if I reserve myself, if I am constantly, trying to filter what I want to say to her, then I'm going to get that back in return. And that's the exact kind of relationship that my dad, whether he meant to or not, whether he was aware of it or not, that's what he created with me. And I had to really make a conscious decision to do something opposite end of the spectrum, different.
Yeah, my daughter last night said, Daddy, I want to marry somebody just like you. And I said, well, let's make sure he has a few less tattoos than Dad, okay? Everything else is good, but a few less tattoos.
I think that Mike brought up a good point, actually, in that he said that, he's creating a relationship with his daughter. And I think that really is something as parents, as fathers, we need to remember that just because they're our children doesn't mean that automatically we're going to have some sort of bond or relationship with them. It's up to us as adults and as their parents, as grown-ups, to create and manufacture and build continually every single day a positive, a great relationship and a bond with our kids.
Yeah, it's the hardest job we'll ever have. It's the longest job we'll ever have, right? You were an owner of a gym, Flynn, for 3 to 5 years. You'll be in real estate for 10 to 20 years. But you're going to be a dad for, 40, 50, 60 possible years, maybe even more. And you've got a lot of time to mess that up. I hate to say that. But you think about how many parents don't have relationships with their kids. That is unfathomable to me. I couldn't even imagine that. Right now, the biggest conflict and contrast that I'm working on is the relationship between my son and my daughter. Because my son can be the biggest a-hole in the world sometimes. And my daughter just says, it's okay. He's kind of a mean guy sometimes. So I think about all the siblings that don't get along. My wife and her brother, my half sister and myself, and I can't imagine them not having a relationship. So for me, I'm constantly sculpting that long term, right? Long term. Dave talked a little bit about, macro, this whole thing. Well, that's what we're doing in this thing, right? It's micro for X amount of years, and then it becomes macro. And this job that we have never goes away, no matter what. So we are constantly having to evolve as parents. Right now, with an 8 and a 7-year-old, we're in a phase of differentiating what's really happening in our lives. Like my wife and I looked at each other on Saturday, Dave, this is personal. And she's like, I'm going home. I'm out. Cannon's being an asshole. And by the way, we're on XM, not FM, so we can say that. Cannon's being an asshole, and he is not giving us the same respect that we're giving him. And I had a 45-minute sit down with him in the car at Borders as we were sitting there. And I told him, nobody in this world is going to love you as much as your mom, your dad, and your sister do right now. What does that mean? One day you'll be married. One day you'll have kids of your own. One day you'll probably have grandkids. But they're not going to love you as much as your mom and your dad and your sister do right now. So if you continue to push us away and you continue to push your sister away and you continue to push your mom away, you're not going to have any more fans. And I'm trying to instill that in his head right now.
What's interesting about all your guys' conversations is, and forgive me if I'm jumping a little bit, but it seems like most of you had a very different kind of background than I did. I mean, and now in our culture, family is everything. And it's very similar to Latin American culture. And so when I was growing up, I was pretty sheltered. And when I started like this whole coaching stuff, I was really surprised at some of these situations where kids were not getting support at home from both parents. I mean, some even one. Some aren't even getting support from one parent. I mean, I'll be honest, like I had an incredible, loving home growing up. I had a mom who it didn't matter I mean, I could do no wrong in her eyes. To this day, I could do no wrong in her eyes. I have an older sister who treated me like a porcelain doll from the day I was born. And she's one of my best friends in the world. And, you know, I had a dad who worked his butt off. He left at 7 a.m. and came back at 7 p.m. and never bought himself anything. Everything was saved to support the family. And I remember the 4 things he's ever bought me. Like, I remember when he took me out to buy me my first suit. I remember when he took me out to buy me my first Matchbox car. I remember when he took me out to play, put up the basketball hoop. And I remember when he took me to my first baseball practice. I also remember when he sat in the snow at my first tackle football game, and my helmet cracked, and they took my helmet off, and he goes, "I can't believe that you sat there in the cold without a helmet on," you know, like, you know, I remember all those things. And there was so much love in our house growing up. And honestly, I'm just trying to transfer it, because what I noticed when my wife and I first got married and we started having kids is it wasn't the same. Because one of us was working, then 2 of us were working. You know, I bring my job home with me, which I was bringing my job home with me when I worked for other people, and that really sucked, you know, because you'd miss out on those opportunities. You know, I think a lot of the stuff Mike said and Justin is really cool. I mean, it's like neat to meet you guys. I mean, like Mike, like I remember when I lost a job when I moved here. My son was 1.5 years old. I had lost a job, and I was going into a job interview, and my babysitter canceled. And my wife was taking a hostess job. She couldn't come help, and I had to go to this interview. And my son was 1.5 years old. This was Dominic. I took him into that Starbucks for that interview. I sat him down. I gave him a mug. I said, "You are going to play with this mug for the next hour and a half. You're not going to say a word, okay? And you're going to sit there. And when we're done, Daddy needs you to do this. When we're done, we're going to have a good time, okay?" At the end of that interview, I asked the lady, like, "How did the interview go?" She goes, "Well, you didn't do too well, but your son." You know, I didn't get the job, but like, I'm pretty sure my son would have been hired. I mean, so it is about what I think you used the word, it's about your actions, right? Like, and it's about treating them a little bit at a higher level. I'm not treating them like an adult, but I am treating them at a higher level than a normal person would treat a 1.5-year-old, right? And, you know, I actually have a question for you guys. I know some of you, your kids are a little bit younger, but what's kind of like the fine line between making sure that you're pushing your kid forward, but you're not coddling them? Like, how do you guys view that?
Mike, Flynn, go ahead, guys, jump in.
That's a great question. And it's something I was going to touch on earlier. And I guess this kind of helps segue into that is, you know, the struggle. I mean, all of us, you know, as was mentioned earlier, you know, we've come to a point in our life where we kind of make our own decisions, you know, to support, you know, our livelihood and our families. But the struggle is what makes the story. If it were handed to us, if it were easy, then there really isn't much to glorify. There isn't much to look back on. There isn't much to like compare to. So the struggle is what makes the story interesting. It makes the memory a lot more lively, I think. So I kind of think back when my brother, you know, growing up, who's 5 years younger than I am, I'd get so impatient with him just trying to fumble with stuff, trying to figure things out. And I just would get irritated and frustrated. I'd be like, just let me do it for you. Just hurry up. You're taking too long. And he didn't learn anything. And he just got kind of accustomed to others taking care of situations for him. And to this day, in a lot of ways, that still is kind of transferred, into his adulthood. And so keeping that in mind, I like to actually sit back and watch my daughter struggle, because that's how she's going to learn something. And that's how she's going to figure it out. And then she gets frustrated. She's like, I need help. And I'm like, no, you don't. You need to be able to figure it out on your own. You got yourself into the situation. I want you to figure out how to get yourself out. And the most common thing that we're dealing with right now is like putting our shirts on backwards or inside out. And she's like, I go, no, go try again. And she's like, no, I got it right. And I'm, no, I can see the tag. So go try again. And she gets all frustrated. She wants me to do it. So, and stuff like that, those, kind of lower level examples that I'll just watch her struggle, because she's not going to learn any other way unless she has to fight for it. Now, we're not in a situation yet that she's in some sort of like competitive sport, which, I absolutely want her to get her into like BJJ. We went to, I've got a sponsored athlete now, and we went to a match not too long ago, and she was fascinated. She's like, this is awesome. I want to wrestle. She wanted to go out on the mats and start wrestling everyone. And I'm like, yes, you can do this. Like, I want that's the independence, that's the confidence, that's the athleticism that I want her to have as an independent female, an independent human being. And that's going to be kind of an interesting time for our family, I think, where she's going to struggle through that and when, getting into any kind of sports or competitive sports. So I'm not there yet. You guys obviously are a little ahead of the curve on me with that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of anticipating what that life is going to be like for us as gym owners and a future gym rat and my daughter, because she's going to be immersed in all that stuff. I mean, we've got, a very athletic background in our family, competitive swimmer and walk-on rugby player to Ohio State University, and, military background and whatnot. So, my daughter's got, a very definitive pathway carved out for her already. Now, can she walk that line? We'll see. But she's
you invited an Ohio State grad into this chat?
Yeah, we do have a Buckeye in the household.
Oh, I'm a University of Michigan grad.
Oh, watch out now.
I'm not even going to go in that conversation, man. We'll push that to the side.
So without struggle, there is no progress, right?
Okay. Just one.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
Mike, the better she gets, the harder it'll be. So, like, when your kids start playing sports, in the beginning, it's very easy to be open-minded and have the right perspective as a parent. But I think what happens is, as they get better, your expectation gets higher. Mm-hmm. And that's when the ugly side comes out. And I am by no means as good with my sons as I am with other kids. Like, I don't think I've ever yelled at Cannon. But I yell at Dominic.
You have, and I've loved every minute of it. So it's all good, man.
Okay, maybe like once or twice. But yeah. But definitely not like I yell at Dominic, as you know. I mean, I can be brutal on my kid, and it's because it's your own kid. And I remember for me, the coming out was, he was playing a football game, and he literally was 20 out of 22 passing. And all I could think of on the drive home was the 2 passes that he threw incomplete, right? I mean, what 10-year-old goes 20 out of 22 passing? And then all I could think about is the 2 that were incomplete, right? And that's exactly what my dad was like. Like, you got a 95 on your math test? What happened to the other 5%, right? But that's I think that's where it can get ugly, is when our expectations, they're doing it, and you get excited. That gets you excited because they're doing it. You love them, right? You're their biggest fan. Right? You'll be your daughter's biggest fan her entire life, and so you're just gonna get excited, and then all of a sudden she's doing amazing things, and you can't appreciate it because your bar is I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying in general, right? Your bar's too high, right? Or your bar rises.
Do you guys think that that's a progressive trait in our society as a father figure, that it's continuing, the expectations are continuing to get higher based on the abilities of our kids? Or do you think as parents, we are watching these club sports and looking at more like a spectator sport, like we're watching on TV? I mean, there's got to be some sort of like, how do I want to put this? There's got to be some sort of like realistic perspective that just because your kid is playing at a high level of, T-ball doesn't mean he's going to be the next, Ken Griffey Jr. And you don't need to be yelling out of the stands as if you were at an MLB game, yelling at a grown man that his calls were off. I think there's
is when the parent becomes a fan. That's when it becomes dangerous. Is when you become.
So Flynn, hey Flynn, why don't you answer this one? Flynn has one of the world's fittest athletes ever that he trained for a few years, that he was up and coming, and those expectations had to get bigger and bigger and bigger till eventually he made the games. Tell us about that and how you might coach Fletcher along that same way, because we know if it's too soft, they're not going to be able to compete, or if it's too hard, they're not going to want to love it. You think about the Todd Marinovich effect, and I've watched that 30 for 30 video a couple times. I've watched and read a little bit about Tiger Woods, right? So, I'm one of those guys who tends to push, pull back, because I didn't have a father figure. I didn't have a coach who took me under their wing and pushed me. So I was able to quit things when I shouldn't have. So, Justin, where do you see that line, and what is your push or pull on Fletcher, who's only 4 right now?
Yeah, I mean, for a 4-year-old, I'm right now. He's involved in. He takes soccer. I have him in swim lessons. I'm gonna enroll him in like a multi-sport program here pretty soon. Where like each week I think they introduce him to like a T-ball, and different touching basics of it. I really think the worst thing you can do with a really young kid is to push them too hard in any one direction, because then you risk them burning out and not wanting to do it at all. And my dad did that with me a little bit with tennis. He's a really, really big tennis player. And he used to take my brother and I out to play tennis. I think maybe if he had come up with a softer approach, I might have actually gotten into tennis, because I had a bit of a natural affinity for it. But I have never played tennis since I was maybe 10, because I think he pushed me too hard into it. So.
You mean 6'4" and good hair is a natural infinitive to being a tennis player?
I don't know about the good hair, but the height definitely helps. Yeah. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, look, kids are gonna do what they're gonna play the sport that they want to play. And I think Tiger Woods, I don't think he's a good example at all. Sure, he ended up being a great golfer, but I mean, look the kind of person he ended up being, So, look, if Fletcher is destined to be an all-star major league pitcher, then so be it. And I'll support him. I'll pay for the camps, and I'll show up at every single game. But I'm certainly not going to be that dad that is, hustling and marketing my kid and betting the house on a professional sports career.
So I don't know if go ahead, Mike.
I think the big thing for us, and something that my girlfriend and I have agreed on, is that my daughter will be able to do whatever it is that she wants. I mean, if she wants to go into swimming, or if she wants to play, fill in the blank sport, she can try her hand at any one of those sports. Now, if she starts, she has to finish. So you don't get to quit halfway through. You don't get to say, oh, I tried 3 games and I don't think this is my speed. Well, there's also a commitment that you have to make. And I think that's also the underlying issue of anything, whether it be sports, academics, relationships, whatever. It all comes down to a commitment, and understanding that is like a baseline that you're committing yourself to do something. And I think that's just a really good humanistic trait that we all need to be better at, generally speaking. But, one of the things I'm working on constantly with my daughter, especially during the summer months here in Texas, which is about 11 and a half months of the year, is wake surfing. We've been big into wake surfing lately, and for her 5th birthday, she got her very own surfboard. And out of a room full of like 40 people, the person that yelled the loudest and got the most excited was Dad. When she got this present, this surfboard that a friend of ours gave to her for her birthday. And it was a surprise to me as much as it was to her. And I'm screaming and yelling. I'm just like, I'm excited. And she's like, oh, that's neat. But when we get out on the water, she's got now something, she's got some ownership and she's got some responsibility. She's got to carry her own gear. She's got to, put in the work. And to make that fun is a constant challenge for me, to make sure that I don't push her too hard to where I put fear in it or it becomes unfun. And I'm banking on that she's going to be a pro wake surfer by the age of like 12 years old. So, this is a retirement program I'm working on here. It's something I guess I do have an example in terms of something competitive for her that we're trying to push her into. But I would say definitely commitment, though. One thing that we're hard pressed on is that she can do whatever she wants as long as she follows through with it and finishes up.
So, I put both my kids on a pedestal, and, Justin Flynn talking about no chance in going pro. He doesn't want to push his kids that way. You can invest in CannonKayyem.com right now. We're selling shares. No, listen, I'm just kidding, guys. I don't think about the big ticket. I don't think about the finances of it. Now, my son, who's very much like his mom, understands that there's more money to be made in baseball and there's a longer career than football. He gets that on his own. Whether or not there's a collegiate program or anything after that, the number one reason why my son plays football, and Dave, I think I've talked to you about this, why he's a quarterback, is so that he can become a leader at anything. It does not matter. There's so many things that happen when he is behind the ball to get ready to teach not only being a leader, but how to handle, how to manage, how to organize, how to keep everybody cool, calm, and collect, including themselves. And he loses it, right? Which is another reason why he's still quarterback. He lost it more than anybody else on the team. He threw a pick in game 3 or game 2, and he completely lost it. I can't talk to him now. At this point, I have to walk away. Fortunately, I had a guy like Coach Dave to come over, put his arm around him and tell him, hey, chill out, calm down. But for me, I push both of my kids what I think and what I hope, and Mom could probably speak on it, as well, just enough to get into that red zone, and then I pull it back. Right?
Yeah,
so like
you and I probably push a little bit harder than most. I think Justin, he's saying he won't, but you never know what'll happen when Fletcher's 8 or 9. Things change. I do think that you don't want to push too much. My wife wheels me back in. One of the things that's really cool is in our house, I'm obsessive about sports, and I love football, man. I love quarterback. I think quarterback's one of the best things you can possibly play to learn lessons about life. I think it's the single hardest position in any sport, period, bar none. I could argue that one with you for days. Those are the smartest kids, and their minds are just going a million miles a minute. But my wife, she doesn't even know the name of the score of the game when it's done. So it's a great balance in our house because, he wins or loses the game, and he always knows he has that. that this person who's always going to be in the same frame of mind, treat them the same. I'll try to treat them the same, but it's just hard. It's just hard because it's like you got all these expectations, and you talk about Cannon getting emotional. I would love to see Dom one time like punch a wall. Like, just get so mad, just be like, he's the opposite, right? It's like, there's no expression. He was on a football team that hadn't lost a game in 9 months, and they got blown out Sunday. Blown out, like embarrassed. And he had no reaction during the game. And I remember looking at him, and I was calm because it's like, I'm not going to overreact about a bunch of kids losing a football game. I wanted to see him get a reaction.
So let me freeze you just for a sec. Dave, you got a little bit of feedback here. I'm going to refresh. Nobody go anywhere. All right, there we go. Dave, your audio's out. You want to try that again? If you don't mind, Dave, you can hit refresh as well, and I'll pop you right back in the room. Justin and Mike, are you guys still here? Can you hear? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. You're good, Dave. You're good. So, guys, I'm sure we could do this all night. This has been one of the best groups we've had so far. I want you to take a minute and open up another window on your computer and please share what we call shameless self-promotion. So, Justin Flynn, I once got called a shameless self-promoter by one of the trolls, if you will, at HQ and that brand that we used to be a part of. And ever since then, I've taken it. I love it. It's called shameless self-promotion. So, guys, take a minute, open up another window. I'd like for you to share your link, your business, your brand. Tell us how the viewers can get a hold of you. I'm going to put in my shameless self-promotion, and I've got a few. First one is going to be sigfit.com, where you can find just about anything about fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle. Next one is going to be the Whole Life Challenge, and I'll actually have a show on tomorrow at 11 a.m. with Mr. Andy Petronic, the founder of CrossFit Los Angeles and the guy who created the Whole Life Challenge. And you know what, Dave? I'm going to put yours in right now because I am a huge fan. There you go. You got it in as well. Guys, this has been absolutely amazing. Let's take a moment here to please share this with Twitter. Share it with a little bird. And starting with you, Dave, if you could, tell us why somebody would want to become part of Team Impact.
Oh, just to build your capability, commitment, and confidence and learn to be a good athlete, pretty much it. Kids
awesome, man.
18 years old. So.
Now, Mike, you've got a huge following already at SickFit Round Rock on Facebook. Take a second, put that link in so that we can all follow you, but also tell us about how construction's looking and what we are with our timeline before the end of the year.
Man, it's it is the story of my life, unfortunately, as I'm trying to get this page put in here. But yeah, the construction has been ongoing for the better part of this year, and it should have been done about 6 months ago. But we're hoping to be open the beginning part of October at the latest, barring any other construction woes that we're dealing with. Renovating an 80-plus-year-old building definitely has its challenges. But we're excited. We are literally in the heart of downtown in this community. We have an amazing opportunity to make a very significant impact on this Central Texas area, as well as like this local community. So very, very excited to be in the position that we are.
And before, Justin, we go to you, I'm going to take a quick pause because she's not on anymore. Well, she might be on. We're only as strong as our partners are. Flynn, you are the most eligible bachelor in all of Southern California. So I got to thank my wife, Najla, who is my high school sweetheart. We've known each other since 7th grade. She's actually in upstate New York right now. She's working 2 careers. She's not just working one. She's obviously running sickfit.com, Sickfit Scottsdale, and keeping all that together, along with keeping our family together. She's taken on another job. She's working for a consulting group, and they're managing real estate properties all over the country. So Thank you so much for all your hard work, sweetheart. I love you very much. Make sure you get home safely. Mr. Flynn, the most eligible bachelor in all of Blab right now, man. Tell us what you got going on, what's next in your life, and how the three of us can get a part of that $2.2 million listing here.
Oh man, just keep one member at a time, and keep preaching the fitness, and open up a second gym as soon as you can, and a third gym. And no, with me, I'm passionate right now about building my my real estate career here in San Diego. I'm on a great team, the Pete Middleton team with Cole Banker. Probably the top grossing team in all of San Diego, one of the top grossing teams in the country, actually. And really fortunate to get on that team. And although I'm new, I have really lofty goals for myself over the next 12 months. And, I really think that the sky's the limit, and the biggest limiting factor with anything, whether it be sports or career, is really yourself. So if you take those limitations off, and you play like the money is already in your pocket, then I think anything's possible. So that, in addition to being a dad and spending absolutely as much time with my son as possible, whether it being kayaking or swimming in the ocean, or even just hanging around the house, I love, and I don't take for granted any moment that I spend with my child. So, yeah.
That's awesome, guys. Congratulations. Thank you so much for your input and your activity. Coach Dave, Mike, Justin, thank you for being fathers of the future. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Luke, for having us on, man.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
All right, man.